Hey, how you doing? This video is a complete guide to releasing a single. So you've written your song, you've made your recording, you're really proud of it, but now what? How do you actually release it properly to give it the best chance of actually reaching people, the people that you want to hear it? Because let's be honest, just putting a song up on Spotify isn't a release strategy, right? That's just uploading, and anybody can do that. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to release a single, step by step. So we're going to look at the checklist of all the preparation that you need to do before you release, along with the timeline of all the activities and how and when to do them. This is going to help you stay organised, avoid stress, and make sure you take up all the opportunities that there are out there for your music. It's also going to make sure that your music doesn't just get disappeared in all the noise that exists out there. So it doesn't matter whether this is your first release or whether you've already released 50 tracks before. Okay, this is a pathway that you can follow to help you maintain and build some momentum as an artist. Now we've put together a document that accompanies this video. It's called the Ultimate Single Release Checklist and Timeline. So let's just have a quick look at that. So this is it here. It's a complete pathway. It shows you all the preparation and the timings that you're going to need for releasing a single. We're going to be going through some of these pages of this guide, so go and check it out in the video description where you can download it for free. You may also find it useful to have this document while you're watching this video. So let's get into it, and let's start by looking at why you even need a release plan at all. Okay, we worked with many artists over the years, and we must have worked on literally hundreds of release campaigns, and it's quite clear to us that a lot of independent artists don't even really have any strategy at all for releasing music or any way of helping to keep themselves organised when they're doing this. We totally understand that it's obviously an exciting thing releasing your music, but it can also be quite overwhelming, right? There's loads of things that you need to think about. So there's your distribution, your marketing, your social media, making videos, doing press shots, all these kinds of things, okay? It's quite a lot to consider. And here's the thing, over 100,000 songs are released onto streaming platforms every day, right? That's just an insane amount of music that's getting out there. So how do you manage to cut through all of the other music that's existing in the world? All right, you need a plan. All right, we're not saying, by the way, that you don't also need great music, okay? Just having a plan isn't going to compensate for you not having great music. And we have done loads of videos on how to develop your music, so do go and check those out as well. But this video, we're just going to be focusing on the release plan in your campaign. Okay, so this plan is going to make sure that your music doesn't get lost with all the other hundreds of thousands of tracks that are out there. It's also going to make sure that you get all the promotional opportunities that you can timed correctly in the cycle of your release campaigns. It's also going to make sure that you're doing something consistent over time so that you can engage with your audience and build that momentum. And finally, one other thing that's really important is it's going to help you budget and understand what it is that you need to prepare so that you can keep the momentum of your campaigns going. So what I'm going to take you through is a way to help you stay organised, meet your deadlines, and actually treat this like a proper launch of your music. All right, and not just some last minute panic or just dropping it and just not doing anything and wondering what's going to happen. This is keeping you accountable. Because if you've ever said to yourself, oh, I'll release that music one day, and then 6 months later it's still sitting there unreleased, then this is for you. Or if you're one of these artists that's just dropped music half-heartedly and just seeing what will happen, this is for you too. So let's have a little closer look now at why strategy and preparation matters so much, and what the difference is really between artists who just drop songs and disappear and other artists who build their growth. So let's take a look again at this checklist and timeline document that we prepared for you, okay? And let's look at why you need to plan ahead. So as you can see here, you can maximize your reach, all right? You're looking at lining up press, your playlists, content rollouts, okay? You want to time things strategically for maximum effect, all right? This isn't just haphazard, okay? Another reason here is that you can show professionalism. And trust me, right, curators, blogs, and people in the industry whose support that you're seeking, right, they can tell when you're organised, okay? They love to know that you have your releases planned along with strategic marketing and promotional activity, all right? This is a real selling point when you're promoting yourself. And also you can stay in control of your finances, all right? Instead of just throwing your money on ads or visuals and not planning or overspending on videos, say, or production costs, which is a very common thing that we find lots of artists doing, all right? It's important that you set out what budget you've got and then plan accordingly. In addition to this, other reasons why strategy matters so much is that you can create momentum, all right, for each single release. And that's what we're trying to do. You're trying to build a series of single campaigns which help build audience growth for you and help develop into a career. So think of your single as more than just a song. This is a launch campaign, and that's the kind of language that you want to be getting into your head, okay? This is a campaign. This is a sustained set of strategic actions. While we're on the subject of strategies, it's important to point out here that we are talking about releasing singles and not albums. And if you are an emerging artist who still doesn't have a fully engaged audience, then you should be releasing singles to help build your growth. We've done videos on this topic, so go ahead and check those out, okay? But we're talking about single release campaigns for emerging independent artists. Also, just to point out that lots of you will be different, okay? All artists are different. You have different music, you're at different stages of your journey. So your strategies will be slightly different. All right, we've worked with lots of different artists, managed and coached lots of artists, and the release campaigns vary. So you'll have different priorities, you'll spend money in different ways. Some of the things that you'll be doing will be different. You'll be reaching out to different types of people. Your audiences will be different. So your campaigns will be slightly different. But what we're covering here in this video is a good overall template that will suit pretty much any emerging DIY artist who's at the early stages of what they're doing and trying to build an audience. Now let's talk about something that's not glamorous at all, which is budgeting, all right, the money side of it, which is a very important part. And loads of artists, most of you, don't seem to do any kind of planning financially at all for your release campaigns. And this results in you spending all your money on random things like the recording studio or music video, and not really thinking about all the other aspects of a release campaign to help give your music the best chance possible. So it doesn't have to be an elaborate big spreadsheet or anything, just a simple list that will take you through some basic costs that you want to consider right at the beginning, even when you're sort of planning recording your music right through to actually releasing it and promoting it. So here's a very simple list that we've got on our checklist and timeline, which you can obviously download and use if you wanted to. All right, so these are the sorts of things that you want to be thinking about budgeting for. All right, so how much are you going to be spending on your recording, your mixing, your mastering, your cover art and your visuals? There's promotional things, your music video, promo clips. Are you going to be spending on these? Do you even need music videos? Some artists do and some don't, okay? There's photography, press shots, marketing, advertising. Are you going to be spending money on PR, playlist pitching? Are you making merchandise or physical copies? And there's other things, miscellaneous expenses, such as traveling to things or paying for other people to assist you in some way, okay? Things you might not think about, but all contribute to cost for you getting your music out there and promoting it. So once you write these things out, you'll quickly see what's the most important for your project. Okay, so maybe visuals are key to your brand, okay? Like I say, you may need a video, you may not, okay? Perhaps you want to invest there, but think about what that's going to cost you and what you can afford to then spend on other things, all right? Maybe you'd rather skip that and put your money into playlist pitching, for example, or running media ads, or hiring a marketing company to assist you, or other things, okay? So everyone's got different decisions to make depending on their project. So there's no one size fits all here with the budget decisions, but whatever your budget is, it doesn't matter if it's small or whether it's large, just think about what your total amount of money is that you're going to spend and then work out how you're best going to spend it that's suitable for your project. So this is really going to help remove a lot of the stress of trying to worry where the money's going to come from and cobbling it together at the last minute, making things difficult for you. But really, very importantly here, it's going to stop you derailing your release campaign, which is what we see time and again, is that you run out of money completely and then you can't really afford to do justice to all the hard work you put into making the music because you can't promote it and run a decent release campaign. And this kind of really kills your momentum, certainly your connection to the audience that you're trying to build, but also it kills your enthusiasm as an artist for what you're doing, and then everything just goes on the back burner again. All right, so now we're going to take a look at some of the key pages from this checklist and timeline that we put together for you. And this is kind of where it all starts to really come together. So at 6 to 8 weeks before your release date, this is what we call the preparation phase. Right, this is where you're going to lock everything in and make sure that you're organised. Okay, so you need to finalise your mix and your master. All right, make sure that's all ready. That can take a lot longer. Okay, so just make sure that you are ready within this time frame. Check that your metadata is ready, your song title and the credits and so on. Okay. Register your song with your PRO, right? That's the Performing Rights Organisation. So we're talking PRS in the UK or ASCAP, BMI in the US, whatever PRO is in your country. Okay, register your sound recording also. All right, that's with your CMO. So that in the UK that would be PPL, or in the US we're talking Sound Exchange. Make sure all the samples that have been used, if there are any sample used, make sure they're cleared and they're all fully licensed. Okay, double check your cover art. Make sure that's good enough to send to your distributor. Then you're going to need to choose a distributor. All right. So there are various distributors out there, loads of them to choose from. And we've done a whole video about music distribution. So go ahead and check that out if you're confused about it. But some very common and popular ones that get used by emerging artists are DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby, Ditto, AWOW, and so on. Okay, just look at whatever you think suits your needs best. Once you've got everything ready and organised, all right, now you're going to upload your final master, okay, your cover art and your lyrics to your distributor, okay, and set your release date. Now you need to give yourself at least 6 weeks between the time that you got all that uploaded to the time that you want to actually be releasing the track, so that you've got time to then have a really solid pre-release marketing and promotion campaign. Now we're going to move on to the marketing asset creation phase. So this is the content creation part. And you want to be doing this at 4 to 6 weeks ahead of your release date. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of work here. This is a big chunk of work to do. So if you are new to this, you may want to be thinking about doing this before this point, building up to your release date. Okay. But as you get more into this and as you do this more frequently, you will understand what you can do, how quick you can do it, and you will get better at it. So as you can see here, there's quite a few things to think about, all right? We've prepared literally hundreds of single release campaigns over the years with different artists. And yeah, it does take a lot of time. So it's important that you don't get stuck on one item, okay? Try to keep focused on all of the assets that you need and not fall down the hole of getting stuck with just doing one thing or spending too much on one thing. Also, make sure that everything that you're creating is completely in line with your brand. Now, we've done a whole video on brand. We've done a couple of videos on branding. So go and check those out as well, all right? It's really important, all right, that all your assets meet your brand. It's critical. So make sure that you're doing that. So here we go. Look, these are the things that you want to be thinking about, all right? Shooting your press photos, okay? You want decent quality ones with a few different looks that you can use. Film your music video or your visualizer. You're going to need something like that, whether it's a full video or just a shorter clip. Get some behind the scenes content while you're doing all the other things that you're doing. Okay, document what you're doing. You can use all this for social media posts. And then do other short form videos, so things for Reels, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and so on. Then you want to think about your written assets. Okay, this is what we call things such as your press release or your artist statement. Think about how you're going to write this. All right, build up your EPK or your one pager. Okay, it doesn't have to be a full APK. It can be a smaller one pager, depending who you're sending this to. And we do videos on this as well. But you should have photos, achievements, links to what you're doing. Make it easy that when you're reaching out to people, that they can find all the information fairly quickly about who you are as an artist and what you've already achieved. Then you want to think about drafting social media captions, all right, and plan out what your posting calendar is going to be. Then you want to make sure that you've written out your email announcement or promotional email, which you're going to send to your mailing list, okay, your subscriber list. Finally, you're going to get to your digital tools, all right? And these are things such as the pre-save link that you're going to need, all right, which you're going to be sending out when you're promoting things. You can go on and claim your Spotify for Artists profile if you haven't already done this, all right? Get onto your Spotify profile, you can add images and change your biography and so on. All right, you're going to need to make some kind of link that you can use when you're pitching to curators and blogs and so on and playlists and things, all right? A very good way of doing this is using a private SoundCloud link. That's fairly standard within the industry, but it could also be a link to a Google Drive or something like that. But make sure it's a clickable, playable link that's easy and doesn't involve somebody having to download your music when you're trying to pitch your music to people, okay? Then you want to create a Spotify canvas, all right? It's just a looping video that will go on Spotify when someone plays your track or streams your track. And then update your website. Don't forget to do that with all your release information. The new track's going to be coming out soon and so on, okay? As I've already mentioned, if you're new to this, then you may want to give yourself a lot more time to do this, all right, before you set a release date even. But either way, you want to make sure that all these things are done at least a month before your release date. Now we're going to move on to the next stage, which is 2 to 4 weeks before your release date. And this is the promotional phase. This is where we're going to let people know that your single is coming out really soon. So you want to start pitching your song, okay? If you don't know what pitching means, really that just means emailing people out and trying to sell the idea that your music is coming out, okay? You're promoting this directly to individuals. So you're going to submit to Spotify for artists, okay, and Apple Music for artists. Usually you do that through your distributor if they're going to help you do that. Some do and some don't. All right, then you can pitch directly to independent playlisters, curators, blogs, radio shows. Again, you should have prepared something beforehand, or over time you should be building up a database and a contact list of people that you can pitch to. You can also use submission sites. So there's things like Submit Hub, Groover, Muso Soup. There's loads of other ones that are around now. These have become quite popular, and these are ways of you connecting with some of these curators and playlisters and blogs and so on, all right? So these sites are becoming quite useful. Don't spend loads of money on them, all right, at these early stages. But just spending a few dollars here and there can be beneficial for you. If you've got any sort of PR team or you're hiring anybody, then obviously coordinate with them, all right, and make sure that your timeline and strategy is all worked out with them and they know what you're doing and you know what they're doing, okay? If you're going to be doing any kind of like reaching out to influencers or TikTok creators or trying to plan any collaborations, then this is a good time to do this, okay? Also, don't forget your audience and fans. So think of your promotion in 2 parts. So yes, you're seeking support from people and organisations in the music industry, but you also want to start making your audience aware that your single's about to be coming out. All right, so start announcing your release date to people, okay? Maybe launch a pre-save campaign if you're going to be doing one of those. You can start sharing some teaser clips, do some Q&As with your people, maybe some live streams with your followers. Bring them into the process of what it is that you're doing, okay? Let them feel like they're part of your journey because, well, they are part of your journey, okay? And it's important that they are connected to what it is that you're doing. Now, at long last, after all the things we've been through, we finally get to the release week, all right? This is launch time. And when you get to release day, you don't just sit back, all right? You don't think all the work has been done. Oh, finally, it's out there. I can just let it do its thing, all right? There's still work to be done here. So on your release day, for example, you need to be sharing your streaming links everywhere that you can, all right? You want to be posting your visualizer that you've made or teaser video. All right, you want to be sending out an email announcement again to your mailing list and let them know that it is out now and they can click on the link and they can go straight away and stream it. All right, you're trying to send out things to people in your audience so that they can click straight away on the link and go and play it. All right, try to engage your fans. All right, reply to any comments anybody's making, repost any stories, thank people personally for anything that they're doing with you. Okay, then there's other things that you can do to help boost your visibility. All right, you can launch an ad campaign. All right, remember, you don't really want your ad campaign to be running before the release day because nobody can click on it and play it. All right, an ad campaign, you want that to run from release day so that someone can actually click on the link, go to Spotify and stream it immediately. All right, so launch that on Meta ads, okay, through your TikTok and Facebook. You could collaborate with other artists, okay? You can do cross-promotional things. You could push for coverage for reviews, blogs, playlists. All this still continues, all right? So just because it's out now, all right, you're still all guns blazing, okay, full on, trying to get as much attention to your track as you possibly can. All right, this is your moment. All right, try and make noise, be active, celebrate any achievements and wins on social media and share things and try and keep everyone engaged as much as you possibly can. So let's move on now to after the single has been out. Say the single's been out for a week now. This is where most artists tend to go quite quiet and believe that all the work has already been done. We tend to notice there's two types of artists here. We get artists who have done a little bit of pre-release activity and campaign and then feel that there's nothing else to do now at this point. And we also get some artists that have done nothing pre-release at all. They drop the single and then they come to us for coaching or guidance as to how they then need to market and promote the single once it's already out. Okay, so remember, a lot of work needs to happen beforehand, which you've just been through, but it doesn't stop on release day and it doesn't stop the week after. There are still things that you can do to try to drive engagement with your released track. So your job now is to keep the momentum going. All right, keep sharing content. Maybe you could do an acoustic version of your track, or maybe you've done a remix, or you're going to do a live session. Okay, there's different content that you can make and you can keep sharing and just try to keep your single release alive. All right, you could upload a music video if you've made one. Usually you do that about a week or two later, ideally, if you're an artist that doesn't have an audience yet. If you've got a fully engaged audience already, then you may want to release your music video at the same time as your audio, but otherwise do it afterwards because it gives you another chance to have some content that you can promote and just bring your single back to everybody's attention again. Don't forget, share milestones, okay? So if you've been added to a playlist, or if you've got good streaming numbers, or you've got some wins and achievements, share these things, okay? Again, this is more content that you can post about. You can continue pitching for playlists, okay, and for curators. And you still may get on streaming playlists even after the release date, okay? And don't forget to celebrate everything that happens, all right? So when you get shared or someone talks about you or you get a blog or you get a nice quote about you, share these things, okay? And spread these out over a period of time, okay? You should be doing this for the whole month after the release date. Basically, keep trying to bring your single to the attention of as many new listeners as you can. Remember, before the release date, nobody can actually stream your single or engage with it, okay? So when you're putting things out on socials, these are teasers. And really, when you haven't got a fully engaged audience and you're still trying to grow something, that's of limited benefit to you, really. So to get people to actually click and listen to it, you need to really be going for it after the release date, once it's already out and once they can actually stream your recording. Okay, so most of the promotional pre-release campaign stuff is targeted at people within the music industry who may be able to support you in some way to get your music heard once it's out. So in some ways, you kind of want to be thinking about release day as the beginning of a whole new phase of promotion and marketing and activity for you. And then make sure that as you're nearing the end of your campaign, that you are tracking your progress. Okay, you can use Spotify for Artists, you can use your social media analytics, you can get data and information from your distributor, and all these things will help to inform you about what your single has been doing. It can track the progress that you've made. It can find out where people are listening to you, what types of people are listening to you, and so on. Okay, really important information, and you should be using this to help inform your next single release campaigns. All right, really important. Make sure you do that. That's what professional organisations and labels and managers will be doing for their artists. Okay, and you should start applying some of that professional attitude to your campaigns as well, and being a lot more strategic about what you're doing. Now, we've covered a lot of things in this checklist and timeline. I understand that, and it's quite a lot of things to think about. There are also other things that we haven't put into this timeline because we don't want to make it overly complicated, and we've tried to give you a pathway that you can follow, okay, that's fairly straightforward and understandable and achievable for most DIY artists, all right? Just do your best with this as well. I just want to point out that you won't get this perfect, all right? Just have a go. You get better at this as you do it, okay? When you're doing more and more, you get to understand the things that you want to concentrate on and the things that you're good at and so on, okay? Just by following a pathway like this, you're going to be way ahead of the vast majority of independent artists who don't have any kind of strategy or plan when they're releasing their music. All right. Also, you're going to seem more professional, which is going to help you when you're trying to reach out to industry, and it's going to help build your own confidence as well. I hope that's been useful. If you want more help with any of this, or you want us to help guide you through this whole process, then we provide coaching and courses and services for independent artists. So if you think you're ready to start working with us, then make sure you get in touch, and you can find our contact details in the description below. Hope that's been helpful. We'll see you next time.